Welcome to Unit 5 of Introductory to Horticulture. Today we're going to talk about growth stimulants, growth retardants, and rooting hormones. This is going to be a bit of a shorter lecture, so there is a lot of information here, but this isn't the most important things to be learning about. So we are going to discuss them, but not necessarily into the detail of which you'll need these. Most of these will be discussed in other classes, such as um, pesticide management or integrated pest management, stuff like that. So basically, growth regulating substances are called hormones, and these are real similar to how we grow and we have hormones. All plants need these hormones to grow and to continue. Um, they are an organic chemical. Typically, they are made up of amino acids that are going to form the chemical that is used to um, cause the growth. These are natural occurring in the plant, and they can also be artificially processed and mimic a natural growth hormone by utilizing similar products. Something to understand when we talk about growth hormones is the concept of apical dominance. Apical dominance is um, if you have an untrimmed branch, it will always grow from the very end and will put all of its energy into growing longer and longer and longer. When you trim the end of the branch, it breaks that apical dominance and it will allow the rest of the branch to grow. So these terminal buds, which are on the end of a branch, will dominate the rest of the areas, the rest of the buds on a branch, and it will secrete chemicals into the rest of the branch to allow to stop the growth of other buds on this branch, or to slow them. Once you remove the terminal bud, then other branches are going to come out, and they will come out sooner because the chemical will not be there to stop the apical dominance. So there are chemicals that you can introduce into a plant that can affect this apical dominance. You can introduce different hormones to either uh, make these um, terminal buds grow faster or to grow smaller. And some of the ways that this is done is by kind of cutting off these chemicals that are going to be causing the tree to grow or the plant to grow. This can be seen in the making of dwarf trees. They are going to continue to affect a tree and make it so that the stems don't grow long. We also use this in the golf course industry to remove or reduce the amount of seed heads that will grow on grass. We do this in trees to ensure that they don't grow into, say, power lines or other things that we want to limit their growth. So there's a lot of different methods or reasons for growth control. So the stimulants, the gibberellic acid, this is a natural occurring chemical that is in um, a plant. These are going to basically tell the plant to grow. That's going to continue the elongation. And then you have the other one here, the alcohol tricantanola, which is found in alfalfa plants, and it is another stimulant that can be used to encourage growth. A really neat side note here, if you've ever heard of the pesticide 2,4-D, 2,4-D, it mimics the gibberellic acid, And what it does is the way 2,4-D kills a plant is it basically tells the plant to grow itself to death. So it is a stimulant to the plant, and it will elongate the plant until the plant has used up all its food reserves and it has nothing left to survive on and it dies. So often if you look at a plant that has been sprayed with 2,4-D, it's going to look all elongated, long, and kind of crazy. That's because it's basically gone in and told these plants to grow themselves to death. There are actually instances where if you use a very, very, very small amount of 2,4-D, you can use it as a growth stimulant. Now, I wouldn't recommend this. It's very hard to control this. You would never want this to be the thing that you're relying on to make a plant grow. Chemical retardants, there are several. Some of the ones that you are common in the industry are green up or M-bark. M-bark is used for trees or grass, and these are going to limit the growth. Um, there are other ones. There are many, many different products that work like this. They work for about 6 to 8 weeks. Once they are worn off within the plant, then you need to reapply this. So I was constantly applying these chemicals when I was a spray tech every 4 to 6 weeks, because you don't want this to lapse, because then you start to get seed heads. This is used commonly to combat Poa annua seed head production in a golf green, because that can make it very unstable. The golf balls will bounce quite a bit. So you want to limit the golf balls, or excuse me, you want to limit the seed head production before they happen and occur. Some retardants also here is Stumagic and Atramic. So if you notice the first one there, it inhibits the natural production of gibberellic acid, or it reduces the height of a plant. And the second one there is a foliar spray that blocks plant hormones. So there are other plant hormones that are used to grow, and these products will actually block those different amino acids, gibberellic acid, amino acids. It will block those amino acids from stimulating the growth in these plants. So root promotion, there are some natural root promoting chemicals. Um, there are plants that root more easily or more difficultly at different stages of maturity. So you'll notice there's another amino acid here that is going to be causing root growth. There are also root hormones that can be used, and so these can actually be um, introduced to a plant. These can also um, be used to root cuttings on plants. There is many different varieties. There is many different applications. Typically, you take this plant and you dip it in the rooting chemical, and then you put it into the like a pot, and it will start to grow roots. This is going to come from certain plants will do this, not all. You want to take a fresh cutting of new healthy tissue, and you want to start to root that. Um, One of the easiest things, and we could probably try to do it, is a rosemary plant will root very readily, and you don't need to use a lot of chemicals to do this. So dwarfing rootstocks, this is when you can find these trees, and they're called dwarf fruit trees, and basically you take a graft or a piece of a root and you attach the desired plant to the top of it, and these will be designed to grow smaller or less elongation than a typical plant of the same variety. Um, so the chemical bloom set, This is a growth hormone that's used in tomatoes, and basically what this does is it allows fruit to set and fruit to start to develop earlier than it would typically in a natural environment. And basically, this is something that you apply early, and it will start to set blossoms. It will allow the plant to fruit up to 10 days earlier than it normally would. Plant biostimulants, these are going to be organic materials, so anything that's used in the same fashion that is organic. These are going to help to increase water uptake. They're going to help increase plant growth. They're going to increase soil microbial activities. So these are all basically organic materials. They can be alive or they can be dead, but they are derived from a natural source that will help stimulate some sort of a process within the landscape environment. So these are going to be humic acid, kelp, or methanol. Basically, humic acid, which is a huge building block of strong, healthy soils. The general or the most basic form of this is rotting organic matter. Once humic acid is in its liquid form, it is the most active that it can be. We at a golf course we did oftentimes applied humic acid directly to um, the greens or other surrounding areas to help promote um, water storage capacity, organic material, um, trying to get the organic material into the soil to try to fix some of the issues because we were using heavily sanded greens. This humic acid was introduced to help hold on to some of those nutrients. Um, kelp and seaweed, it's very similar. These are high in strong organic material that will help to provide nutrients and water holding capacity into the soil. And methanol is also a biostimulant. What this does is it actually feeds uh, micronutrients and it encourages the uptake of other nutrients within the soil. So I talked about this a little bit in last lecture, I believe. It was a plant's biological clock, and plants they operate on a 24-hour cycle. So um, everything it goes off in the morning. You have all these different processes that happen. Photosynthesis is occurring while the sun is out. Respiration is occurring while the sun is out, and then at night. And the plant actually utilizes this clock, or certain plants utilize this clock to help in fruiting and to help in seed set and allowing it to reproduce. So then it will only set its seeds and set its flowers during certain times of the year based on whatever sun phase we have. Alleliopathy, this is something that is utilized by certain plants to discourage growth around the base of it. So something very common that happens is if you were to look at a eucalyptus tree, most eucalyptus trees excrete alleliopathic chemicals in their around the base of the tree where the tree and the dirt surface meet. And what you'll notice is most of the plants will not grow directly up to the plant. There will be a gap of dirt or a gap of area in between the other plants and the eucalyptus tree, and this acts as a sort of herbicide or a growth regulator to limit the amount of plants that grow and hog the space and hog the oxygen from these plants. Typically around the base of a tree is where it will respire from. So there are areas where oxygen has to get out and in near the base of the tree. This would be kind of like the tree wants to breathe. There's an area there where the tree needs to have good air movement around the base of the tree. So the tree or the plant will use these alleliopathic chemicals to re remove those plants from that area. So I'm not going to cover this. There's an app for plant growth regulators. In summary, um, plant growth is the result of naturally occurring chemicals. Again, they can be mimicked by other chemicals. Um, we've learned to change the growth rate of plants. We manipulate the growth rate of plants to fit our needs, especially in the golf course industry. This is something very vital and definitely need to understand how this process works. Again, this is something that we get into more in pesticides, but here is a basic overview of the things that you need to know about plant growth regulators. So until next time, thank you.